Hello, this is Paul Glumaz once again with you on this Monday, the 25th of June. It's been very nice here in Seattle, very nice weather, and I'm the 44-year veteran activist with the movement of Lyndon LaRouche. And this is being brought to you by General Welfare Presents. We're quite at quite a point here. Donald Trump is defying the Russia narrative, and it appears that a meeting has been set with Putin on July 15th. Starting July 15th in Vienna, of all places. So, and John Bolton has been sent to Russia to work out the details. Now, how's that for them apples? So, now so I want to deal with that first, because for the last 16 years, or actually for the last 20 years, since Monica Lewinsky came on the scene and Bill Clinton lost it with Monica Lewinsky, the country has been under the control and being governed by a policy which came in with Bush, came in with 9/11, and continued on much stronger with Obama. And that policy is to establish a world empire based on a neoliberal model, open borders, free drugs, no nations. Just, everyone scrambling to survive, and those who are better at it get to the top, and those who are not, they get crushed. This is the freedom. This is freedom, right? This is freedom. The free to, the will to come out on top, and the will. So you're either a winner, which is like very few, or you're a loser, which is everybody. And this is the world the entire world was to become part of this, whether it was China or Russia or you name it, because this was such a wonderful world. And this guy Fukuyama wrote a book called The End of History, which is after the fall of the wall of the Soviet Union. This is the world we're coming to, the end of history. There's no more history because, we're going to have, everything's going to be worked out. The winners are the winners, and the losers are everybody, and it's like Rome, it's like the Roman Empire, the few make it to the top, and the rest, get trampled on. And so this new world order, if you want to call it, or the unipolar world, or the neoliberal model of the world, which was based on U.S. military power and the deployment of these mercenary terrorists all over the world, to get everyone in the right condition to break up nations, using the financial system to break up nations, using terrorism to break up nations, using the drug trade to break up nations. This neoliberal model became the essence of the European Union. It already was the essence of NAFTA, which was done 25 years ago. It was the essence of the world we were going to go into. It was the essence of the international banking system, which is no longer do we have banks based on national interest, but we have banks based on international universal banks who take your deposits and leverage it in the gambling casino, the leveraging of derivatives and all of this huge global system of gyrating speculation. You have too big to fail and too big to jail. This is the world the post nation state world, the post in post national development world. We don't like nations. Nations get in the way of our plunder. Nations get in the way. People might put in a leader that will act to defend the people, and then we have to overthrow that leader because that leader is, they call him, what's the word that they use? Oh yeah, revisionist. That's the word that they use, revisionist. They call the leaders like that revisionists. Why are they revisionists? Because they're reviving the principle of the nation. That's why they're revisionists. And you don't want to revive the principle of the nation. That's a very bad thing. We need a global society, a global village. We need to be eco-friendly and carbon tax and reduce the population because we have too many of the deadbeats out there. Too many people. It's too many people, right? The planet is only so big, and we only have so much resources, and there's too many of you guys out there. There's plenty of room for us few, but you guys out there, there's too many of you out there. So that's the view. That's the wonderful world we were going into, and everything was geared to try to deal with the two big problems that were in the way. One of them was Russia, and the other was China. China was not going to be an easy to take down. But we do know the Chinese have a very strong capitalist streak, and we're gonna worm our way in there, and we'll use the Chinese capitalism streak to come in somehow. And Russia, we're going to use international terrorism, and we're going to use the oligarchs that were created during the period of Yeltsin to take down Russia. Well, it didn't happen. And now, in the last 5 years, you have the Belt and Road Initiative, which is going in the other direction. And everything was predicated on winning that war for this global society, winning the battle for the global society. And now Russia has become revisionist, and China has become revisionist, and whoa, they are the enemies. And Putin is a problem because he's become a revisionist, and he's encouraging other countries to have revisionist governments that are standing up for their people, like in Czechia and in Hungary. Oh my God, Orban, and now in Italy. These are revisionists. These are the Brexit. That's a revisionist policy, and all these and then Donald Trump is a revisionist because he's not he doesn't seem to be in favor of this global utopian hell that they're trying to impose upon the world. So now, but you got the entire policy establishment since Monica Lewinsky in 9/11 totally geared towards winning this war. And over time, they were able to clean out the military and put their people in, and clean out the State Department and put their people in. And so Trump comes into a situation as president when the entire establishment, the entire government is totally geared towards this objective of going to a war with Russia and China, using terrorism, using drugs, using everything. Using all kinds of destabilizations and color revolutions and you name it. Boycotts and financial warfare and everything. And what happens? Well, the thing that was really going to make it stick was the fear of annihilation. And so the entire U.S. military policy during this period was to establish a war-winning first strike nuclear capability. This war-winning first strike capability was camouflaged in the need to have a system, an ABM system, in Europe to so-called protect Europe from what? From Iran's nuclear program that didn't exist. And if it didn't exist, if it did exist, it probably didn't exist. So this was very important that Iran be the center of the situation, because Iran's nuclear program was the justification for setting up this ABM system, which was designed to take out any kind of second strike that the Russians might survive after they survive a all-out preemptive attack. And the U.S. policy was to develop a capability of hitting all the command centers, all the everywhere, and then take out the whatever's, and then use that threat as the key leverage to force Russia and China. And it was North Korea's nuclear program which also provided the justification for setting up the THAAD missile deployment system, which was again designed similarly to have the leverage of a first strike capability. This was U.S. policy. We were headed towards nuclear war. U.S. policy under Bush and then increasingly under Obama had a terminal trajectory in nuclear war if these countries did not, go along with this new world system, this unipolar system. We're all winners and losers system, mostly losers. And the new peasantry, the romance of backwardness of the bucolic world of environmental, worship of nature. It's really a new form of peasantry, a new form of going back to nature, like being a peasant, kind of mentality that you see proliferating in the population. So meanwhile, the real peasants out there in the third world, they don't want to be peasants anymore. They want to go to Europe. They want to come to the United States because there ain't no development going on in that system. So we have an immigration crisis in the U.S. We have a refugee and immigration crisis in Europe, also promoted through these wars, through these hellish wars, these child armies, these terrorists which are destroying all these countries, which is the policy. And they drive these people into Europe and the United States. So now we have new winners and losers coming in to compete with us. Winners and losers, open borders. George Soros, open borders, open your borders. Let everyone in and let everyone out, and let God sort them out. And out of that, we'll have a new feudalism. We'll have a new hierarchy of slaves and masters, And so, essentially, this is not what's happening. So when Russia made it very clear that they have developed the advanced scientific technology and missile capabilities to deter any and survive and deter any first strike capability that might possibly occur, the threat of a preemptive first strike as a leverage point ended. The only threat was global suicide. Everyone, is to launch a preemptive strike to end humanity. It's the only threat that this crowd has. So here comes Trump, right? So Trump comes into office, and everyone is against having peace. Everyone is against working with China and Russia. But how are you going to stop the drive for war? Because the drive for war is going to continue, regardless of who's president is. It's going to continue because the institutions are going to go that way anyhow. They don't give a damn who's president. Oh, you're the president? Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah, well, you don't run things. We run things. We're the government. Who are you? You're the president. Oh, you're not the government. You're the president. We're the government. And we're going to, you think you're running things? No, you're not running things. We're running things, and you're in our way. And if you don't get in line, then we're going to get you out. I mean, that's how we do things around here. Kennedy didn't want to get in line, and and other presidents didn't want to get in line, and we took care of them. You're no different. What makes you think you're different? So here you have Donald Trump coming in, and he's surrounded by all of this, and he wants to end this direction because it's going to lead to nuclear war. That's where it's going to go. And whether you like it or not, and those who don't realize that it's going to go to nuclear war, it will lead to nuclear war. And how do you turn off the nuclear war drive? And then they do the Russia thing. So now not only is Russia the enemy, but Russia made, guess what? Russia made Trump president. Russia is responsible for Trump president. They paid him, or they did something, or they colluded with him, and that is why he's the president. Because they were involved in exposing Hillary Clinton's email. It's totally, so Russia is the reason that Trump is a Russian stooge. So how are you going to have a discussion if everyone thinks that if you're having a discussion, it's because you're a Russian stooge? And all the anti-commie, kill a commie for mommy mentality that has dominated this society since the beginning of the Cold War in the early 50s, 1950s, 70 years ago, late 40s, early 50s, all of that's being played. So what are you going to do? And then you have the Korea situation. So Donald Trump went and met with, guess who? The bad guy, Kim Jong-un. He met with him. He met with them. That's incredible. And guess what? All the countries there in the area, Japan, South Korea, China, Russia, they're all coming together to start a massive economic development in North Korea to connect everything up, and they're moving fast. They're moving fast. The U.S., oh, you're going to talk to Kim? Oh. Well, now the North Koreans and the South Koreans are talking about removing their artillery from the border. That's fast. That's fast. That's moving fast. Why are they moving fast? Because this is their opportunity to break free of this insanity, which is not only destroying every country on the planet, but is heading towards nuclear war, and go with the Belt and Road. And that's what's going on. So now, Donald Trump is going to meet with Bad Vlad, dictator, revisionist, the big threat to the West. Vladimir is going to meet with him on the 15th of July in Vienna. Now, why is that important? Because you need to stop this whole drive for war, and you need to get the U.S. and Russia working together to clean up all this crap that was created to create a condition of destruction of the Middle East and Africa and ultimately Central Asia and into Russia and China. You got to get them working together to stabilize all these areas like the Middle East, where you have the situation in Yemen. You can't do it without the United States and Russia coming to understand what is in their interests, what is in Russia's interest, what is in the U.S. interest. To bleed ourselves more than the $7 trillion that we bled in the Middle East in the last, since 9/11, since we invaded Iraq. Is it our interest to continue that? What did we get out of it? We, the people of the United States, we didn't get anything out of it. We got screwed. While all that was going on, the international financial system was growing, the speculation was growing, and the lack of investment was growing in the U.S. So this is where we're headed. Now, once you establish that we're not going to go to war with Russia and China, that we're going to work with Russia and China for our own interest as a nation, not for this international new feudalism, then you can start to talk. Then from there, you actually enter what we call the new paradigm. That's what we call it, the new paradigm. No more geopolitics. This is what the Chinese are calling win-win. You enter the new paradigm. Now you're in the new paradigm. You can deal with the trade issue. Why? Why can't? Because right now the trade issue is, you know, us versus you. You're screwing us. We're screwing you. So we're gonna put a tariff on you, and you're gonna put a tariff on us, and we can. Well, that's not gonna solve anything. That's not gonna solve anything. You have to sit down and cut out the middleman, the international financial crowd, and say, okay, what do you need? What do we need? How do we organize our trade in such a way? Now, this is how we do it. And the Chinese are talking about this. They want to increase the volume of world trade 10 times. Why? Because they want to increase the volume of international production of goods 10 times. Why do they want to do that? Because they want to bring everybody out of poverty to a near middle class existence. You can't do that under the existing infrastructure. You can't do that. You have to mine. You have to mine all over the world. You have to develop Africa. You have to develop Latin America. You got to develop Siberia. You got to develop Canada, the northern part of the. You got to have not only the maritime capabilities, new ports, new development, but you got to have the rail to go with it. And that's how you're going to deal with the trade problem, because you can rebuild the internal U.S. economy to export to this development, and you will solve the trade imbalance that way. That's called win-win. But that's not geopolitical. That requires that you accept the fact that China is not the enemy, that Russia is not the enemy, and that does not exist in Washington. That mentality does not exist in Washington, but it has to be implemented, because otherwise we're heading to nuclear war, because that's where we were programmed to go. And the fact that that program is a failure doesn't mean that the people who created it have a different program. Okay? At least one that is going to benefit the people of this planet. No. So that's where we are. That's the situation that we're in. So this has to be worked out, and the Chinese and the U.S. have to sit down, and the U.S. The people running the U.S. Advisors to Trump have to deal with this. And when you understand that, then you have to deal with the elephant in the room, which is the banking system. It has to be completely reorganized. Because you can't be carrying quadrillions of dollars of derivative speculation on top of all these financial bubbles that are being created, all these debt bubbles that are being created, all these stock bubbles that are being created, and on top of it, so you can't make it on economic bubbles, on financial bubbles. One bubble and another bubble on top of that bubble and another bubble on top. You can't do it that way. You got to do actual shovels in the ground. You got to actually create something. But then, in the old paradigm, why would you want to bother creating anything? Because you were going to go to a new kind of feudalism, a new kind of genocide, a new kind of lowering the population. Why? If you keep developing, you're only going to increase the world's population. You're only going to increase the numbers of humanity. Of course, the population rate isn't going to go up that fast because you're industrializing, so the population rate will go down. But still, nonetheless, so this is where we are. So this whole financial speculative thing is a wonderful plundering mechanism, forcing nations to have to buy their protect their currencies, and using this international dollar, to do this on oil, and the whole structure is this one looting operation, and that's not going to work. There's a new system coming in. It's the Belt and Road system. It's nations working with other nations for their mutual development. That's coming in. And once you understand that that's going to be the system, then you got to take out the garbage. You know, like the international banking garbage and the offshore banking garbage. You got to redirect the structural reform of your internal banking system so that it functions to finance the improvement of the nation, the infrastructure, the massive increase in manufacturing that's going to be required in all of this. And yes, and that is that is the beginning of LaRouche's 4 laws. You know, and Glass-Steagall is just the bank separation part. A credit system is the financial system, and where you put the credit for the maximum development is the third aspect, and then going for a crash fusion program is the last aspect, because ultimately you're going to have to go from a system where you depend on the resources of the earth to one that you actually create your own resources. When you reach fusion power, then you are no longer dependent, you're no longer limited to what we have on Earth. You now can create the same power that's in the sun. It's not fission, which is you take existing uranium, break it down, or even enrich it, or plutonium, or thorium. It's fusion takes you out of the limitations of the planet altogether in terms of what you can economically can create and do.